button. Yes. All right. Welcome, everybody. My name is Caitlin O'Brien. I'm the events coordinator at Square Books, and I am so excited for our first ever virtual workshop in these strange and kind of never-ending times. But we're making do, and really excited to celebrate The Magic of Tarot, Sasha Graham's newest book. Al Morse is here. I'm sure many of you know her face. She's at Off Square Books and curates our metaphysical section. So I think y'all are in really good hands with these two. But before I pass it off to them, I just wanted to tell you about one upcoming event next week. If you live locally, Thacker Mountain Radio is back. Throughout the fall, it's taking place at the open air Old Armory Pavilion. So lots of room for social distancing. We've really missed having Thacker in person. So if you haven't been, come down. It starts at 6:30 and that's tomorrow. And it features the author Macon Fry for his book, They Called Us River Rats. It's a cultural history of outsider settlements in the Louisiana Bayou. In addition to Macon Fry, there are going to be alt rockers Waiting for UFOs, singer-songwriter Jimbo Mathis, and our house band, the Yalla Bushwhackers. If you don't live in Oxford, you can visit our website for links to listen remotely. But that's all from me. So I'm going to pass it off to Al, who can tell you a little more about Sasha and her new book, The Magic of Tarot. It releases next week. Is that right? Next Tuesday? So this is a pre-publication event. If you haven't pre-ordered it yet, I'll put some links in there for you to do that. But thank you both so much. I'm so excited to unleash the power, the potential of my tarot deck. And all right, y'all have fun. Oh, y'all joining us at home, please submit questions in the Q&A. We'll come do that at the end. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Caitlin. Okay, so it's super cool to see so many people here. I'm Al, and I want to introduce Sasha real quick before we get to the workshop. Sasha Graham teaches and lectures around the world. Her work has been translated into Chinese, Italian, Russian, French, Spanish, Polish, and Portuguese. So I lost count. That's quite a bit. Pretty impressive. She is the author of Tarot Diva, 365 tarot spreads, 365 tarot spells, Llewellyn's complete book of Rider-Waite-Smith Tarot, and The Magic of Tarot. She served as the editor and writer of Los Scarabaeos Tarot Fundamentals, Tarot Experience, and the Tarot Compendium. Sasha is a contributing author of Llewellyn's Magical Almanac 2020, 2022, Witch's Datebook 2022, and Llewellyn's Witch's Calendar 2021. Her tarot deck includes Tarot of Haunted Houses, Darkwood Tarot, and the forthcoming Tarot of Witch's Garden. We are so thrilled to welcome you, Sasha, and I will bow out. Y'all can check the links in the chat to please pre-order The Magic of Tarot. Thanks.
Yay, thank you so much, Al and Square Books. Thank you so much for having me. This is, I'm just so excited to be here, and I'm excited to share the magic of tarot. So what I'd like everybody to do, so we can really kind of mark our space, is just actually, before we even start anything, just take a minute to close our eyes and focus on your breath and allow everything that happened to you before this moment to just slip away. Focus on your inhale and your exhale. Focus on the inhale and then breathing out. And as your entire day kind of just slips away, just sort of like releases, you feel this wonderful kind of peace just slip over you as every part of your body just relaxes. I'd like for you very quickly to pay attention for a moment at the darkness inside your eyes, the darkness of your eyelids. As you start to focus in on that beautiful darkness, allow it to cloak you and move further into what is beautiful, magical potential. So with one more inhale and one last exhale, I'm going to invite you all to open up your eyes and come right back and join the Zoom. Now, I'm not sure if you guys at home, it looks to me like the Magic of Tarot is on the big main screen. Are you guys seeing me on the big screen? It looks like the Magic of Tarot is highlighted for me. I am there, okay, good, excellent. You guys, welcome so much. I'm so happy to be here and I'm so happy to talk to you guys all tonight. So just taking a simple moment, like I would venture to guess that just taking a moment to stop and focus on your breath kind of changed the way that you feel. And this is something simple and easy that you can do every time you sit down with your tarot cards, is just to take a moment, take a deep breath before opening your cards up and starting to work with them. Now, what I want to do tonight in the bit of time that we have is show you that no matter who you are and what your level is in terms of reading the cards, anyone can read a card, and there is absolutely, you don't have to read a book, look at a book, look up at a card meaning. You have your entire life's experience as your tools when you're working with the cards. So the first thing I want you guys to do is throw any fear away, and don't think that, oh, I'm going to get something wrong, because fear is the quickest way to shut down a tarot reading. And we're not working with the cards to be scared, right? We're working with the cards to literally unleash potential. Now, there's a million different ways for us to use tarot. I like to use tarot in a productive manner, meaning I don't usually read cards to kind of figure out what's going to happen in the future. There's nothing wrong with that if that's how you want to use them, but that's not, I like to make magic with the cards by honing in on my personal power, on what it is that I can do to bring all of the things that I want into my life. And it's a funny thing, because Al and I were talking briefly before we started that a lot of people think about tarot and magic as two separate things, and really they're not. They're really, you can't really have one without the other, because magic is at its essence coming into alignment with who you are and coming into step with the universe, right? And that's when magic happens. That's when magic unfolds. So that's exactly what you're doing anytime you ask a question and pull a card. So the first thing that I'd like you guys all to do, if you have a pen and paper, or even if you don't, if you even just have your telephone or a computer handy, I'd like you guys to write something down that you would ask for if you were going to see the most phenomenal witch in the world, or if you were going to cast a spell. Take just a minute to write down what that would be. What is your heart's desire? Just write that down quick in 1 or 2 sentences. All right. So we're going to focus tonight on how you can get exactly that thing. But first, I'm going to bring you guys back to how it is that we read tarot cards. So how can anybody read a card even if they're not looking up in the book? Like, why, how is that possible? So tarot is nothing more than a reflection of people's psyche, right? So it's kind of like when you're looking up the meanings of a tarot card, there's so much esoteric theory and magic packed into the deck, but that's all tools for your toolbox. The most important thing that you can do is go with your first instinct when you flip a card and look at an image. And this is another reason that tarot has the potential to really change your life, because when you trust your instincts with the cards, that trust leaves your, like, rolls off your cards and then moves into your regular everyday life. So the first thing that, if you guys are really interested in having an active tarot practice in your life, I highly recommend that you pull a single card every single morning. It's called Card a Day. And it is such a magical act, because in order to, like, properly do a card a day, you would pull a card in the morning or in the afternoon, whenever you wake up, whenever you're kind of feeling groovy and getting like your day together. Maybe it's with your cup of tea, maybe it's when you get out of the shower. But the whole point of pulling a card a day is essentially to clear your mind, like you just did before when we were like grounding ourselves, and ask, like, what is it that I need to know today, right? Or take a minute and sort of think about what you've got going on in your day and say, like, what will help me have the best day ever? And then literally you'll pull a card. Right here we've got the Three of Pentacles has come up. And using your instinct and using your intuition, you're going to get a message from that card. Just jot it down for yourself. And then you'll check back in later on at the end of your day to see, was what you thought of, like, did that give you, what happened that reminded you of that card? Did that intuition or impulse happen that you saw with the card? Because what happens is you're going to start to understand how your psychic and your intuitive muscles work, because you're going to get some crazy hits and you're going to start to really understand what that feels like. You're also going to be looking for that, right? So what we're really doing is honing your muscles. So yeah, a card a day is amazing and it's magical, and it kind of resets you and puts you into the right direction. So the magic of tarot really lies in the questions that we ask the cards. So it's almost more important to learn how to formulate a really phenomenal question before you even get to sort of unpacking what tarot, what the images all mean, and what lives behind tarot. So in order to create a really strong question, the first thing that you should do is take personal responsibility for yourself. What do I mean? That means that when you're working with the cards, and this is the same as when you're doing a magic spell, you're not looking into somebody's business. You are not asking a question like, why does my life suck so bad? Or why can't I stop eating pizza? Or when am I going to be rich? None of these questions that totally avoid personal responsibility, by the way, none of those questions are going to wind up with an answer that's very satisfying. So you want to ask questions that focus on your power and your responsibility. And those are questions such as, what can I do? How can I do it? Right? So what can I do to get healthier in my life? How can I bring the best possible relationship into my life? So you see the difference between a why and a what question, because what you're actually doing is tricking your mind into like finding the answer. So you're kind of going to leapfrog straight ahead, and you're going to wind up with an answer from the card that you can actively do something with. And this is, again, one of the beautiful parts of tarot, is that it takes everything that's in our mind that makes us crazy, and we're able to take all of it and put it on the table in front of us. So it gives us a bird eye view of our life, which is fantastic. So what I'd like you to do, just like before, when I asked you if there was a spell you could cast, what I'd like you to do is ask a question that you would really like an answer to, but make sure that you're, number one, taking personal responsibility, saying, how can I do this? Or what will help me do this? Or what can I look out for? And then state your desired outcome. What is it that you want? Put that into the question. So go ahead and write down that question for yourself. Just a few minutes to write that down. While you're writing that down, I also want to just mention that, especially in the beginning when you're first working with the cards, it's so important to write your conversations with the card. If you're just having them in your head, it's easy to get ahead of yourself. It's easy to question yourself. And in the Magic of Tarot, I actually include a ton of journal prompts, which are prompts to get you writing. And these are kind of stream of consciousness writing exercises. They're really helpful because they help you figure out what your answers are and what you really want. So when you pull a card of the day, put it into your tarot journal. And you don't have to be a big writer, right, to do this either. You can just put down keywords. You can put down short sentences. This is nothing anybody else is going to read but you. But the act of writing it down is going to cement it. Oh, I also highly suggest that wherever you're keeping your tarot notes, keep a record of any psychic pops and any intuitions that very strongly come true, that are unquestionably like happen for you. Why is this important? I'll tell you, it is so easy for us to discount amazing stuff when it happens. So just the act of writing it down and recording it is going to help you honor your psychic pops and your intuitions that are really like spot on the money, and be awesome for you. So writing and recording is a really important part of your tarot practice. Okay. So presumably you guys have all written down your questions. So now, all right, so Sasha, how can I ask, how can I interpret a tarot card if I've like never done it before, or it seems so overwhelming to me? Well, it's not. Tarot is visual, right? And tarot's power is that its symbolism moves straight into our souls, right? It's more, visual language is more powerful than actual language, right? Because we see it, we feel it, we internalize it. When we see a stop sign, we know our body just automatically, stops, hopefully. It's not even something that we need to think about. This is one of the powers of tarot, is it's symbolic, the way it communicates with us. So what is it that we want to look at when we're looking at the card and we're trying to get a message for it? Well, you're storytelling. Right? And we've all told stories to children. If I opened up a picture book right now with absolutely no words on it, and I said, would you please read a bedtime story for this adorable 5-year-old based on these pictures? You would be able to come up with the most phenomenal story, because it's what we do. We're hardwired to tell stories. So when we're reading a tarot card, we are telling the story of the card, and the story that we tell and the message that we receive is completely guided by our intuition. So take a breath and trust yourself. Now, on a tarot card, where could this story come from? Or what is it that you want to focus on? I'm using the Delos Tarot, by the way, for this tonight, just because it's an adorable deck, and I just think it's really easy to read and understand. It's a Rider-Waite-Smith clone. So there's a lot going on any given tarot card. You want to focus on the first thing that your attention moves to, especially in the beginning. Make it simple for yourself. Look at one simple thing that leaps out and jumps at your attention. What could that be? It might be a color on the card. Maybe it's the color blue. And then you think, well, okay, blue makes me feel dreamy. So the answer is to pay attention to my dreams. Or blue makes me feel sad. So maybe I need to sit with the sadness for a little while longer until it eventually like kind of moves away, right? Because when you're feeling blue, that doesn't tend to be something that happens for a long time. You could look at the postures of the characters on the card. So you see these two characters are in the act of both giving and receiving. So the question is, or your message might be, I need to open up and allow myself to receive gifts, right? Because we're showered with gifts all the time. Do we necessarily take advantage of them, or are we quick to push them away? Or you might instinctively go to the opposite part of the spectrum, which is, am I giving of myself, right? If my question is, how can I have the best day ever? Maybe the answer from this card is you really have to focus on just giving. Put your ego to behind and just spend the day sharing yourself as best you can. All of those are valid messages. And that's the thing. There is no one meaning of a tarot card. Literally, tarot is archetypal. They are like herbs. They have no ending. And in fact, every time you pull a card and you read a card, you bring tarot into the future because you're working with that archetype and adding your special sauce. No one reads cards like you do. Nobody. What else can you look at on the card? You can look at the number on the card. If you're someone who likes to work with numerology, 6, it's the heart center of the tree of life. So, okay, today needs to be a heart-filled day. You might look at the suit, cups, which is receptive and feminine and again, very dreamy. So maybe I want to put myself in a place of listening today in order to get whatever it is I want. So you can literally make a story of absolutely and a message of anything that you see in the card. Your challenge is to trust yourself with the first thing that you see and running with that, making it into a message that you can internalize. So, looking at the question that you wrote down for yourself, I'm going to show you, let me just see, somebody wrote something. Yes, Delos Tarot. Yes, that is such a great deck. It's such a fabulous deck. I'm going to show you a card that's going to be the answer to the card for the question that you wrote down. So I'm going to ask you guys to do a writing prompt, which is I'm going to show you the card. I'll ask you to read your question internally again before I show you the card. And then you go ahead and start writing the answer as you see it. And a writing prompt means that you continue to write without stopping until I tell you to stop. Again, nobody's going to see this. The point of this is that it's stream of consciousness to get to the heart of what your message is. Don't worry about punctuation. Just write, write, write. Keep your pen on the paper or keep your fingers on the keyboard until I say stop. So are there any questions? Is there any questions before I show you the card? I don't think so. It's so weird. I was saying to the girls at Square Books, I've never done a webinar before, so it's so crazy not seeing all of your faces. So that I trust you all. You're all ready. So look at your question and just read it again for yourself or make any adjustments that you like. I'm going to pull a card for you. Go ahead and write down the message that you're getting. And if you stop, just say, I have more to say, I have more to say. I have more to say. pens, keyboards down, I would assume that even in that short amount of time, you probably got a really good message from the Queen of Wands, who a woman can broadcast. So she broadcasts energy and magic. So I want to jump ahead now and just talk about a simple way that you guys can access the cards for magic. And I literally call this using a card, call it using a card as medicine, which seems so clinical. But I think that oftentimes when we aren't making magic, when we're talking about the things that our hearts and souls desire, you know, there's blockages there. Otherwise, we would always have it. You know, that's an interesting thing in the Celtic cross spread. The ninth position is your hopes and fears, right? So there must be something kind of odd standing there that you're brushing up against. Otherwise, you would already have this thing, right? So magic is about unblocking that. Yeah, so when I say using the cards like medicine, you can literally dip into the tarot and pull whatever you need. And what's great about it is you don't even need to have a physical deck with you. Like you could be walking into a job interview and want to infuse yourself with energy so that you're magnetic and charming. You literally can visualize the magician card for like a minute before you walk through that door or have that interview, and take that energy like an energetic infusion. And that's a really simple way to make magic with the cards. So let's take a look at what you wrote down if you were going to cast a spell, if you were going to go to a witch, what it is that you would ask for. Take a minute to look at what you wrote. And I'm going to go ahead and pull up a card for you and show you how you would literally use this card as like a magical medicine. So the card I'm holding up right now is the Star card. So one of the most powerful things that you can do is come with an intention to a tarot card that you have picked out ahead of time because you like that card and you want to access its energy, or even a card that you just pull randomly that you can decide has some great wisdom for you or has some magic, is a magical ally for you. And then start to do a soft gaze into the card. So a soft gaze means that you're looking at the image, but you're very, very relaxed. So go ahead and look at this image. And kind of allow the borders to even slip away. Kind of step into the card with your mind's eye. So as you step into a card in this way, you're going to want to think, what does this card feel like? What do I hear inside of this card? Is it gentle wind blowing? The stars pouring water? Do you hear the rippling of water, the pouring of water? What does the air inside this card feel like? It's nighttime, right? It's a beautiful, starry night. So maybe there's a soft breeze on your skin. And if you were standing inside of this card, could you in your bare feet feel the grass beneath you? And the star is naked, right? Almost on every tarot card, she's naked. So how does it feel to be completely vulnerable and so okay with yourself? Like totally like naked as the day you were born and just open and kind of breathing in the night sky with like every centimeter of your skin. And then like the star does, like look up and see a star that's shining so bright for you. It is infusing you with energy. And then maybe while you feel this infusion of starlight, you might even close your eyes and start to imagine yourself having and doing and enjoying your magical goal. My God, like, what does it feel like to wake up with that magic being alive in your life? How do you move through your day with whatever this was that you desire? And then how can you stand with this beautiful, shimmering possibility? How can you infuse star energy into that and into yourself so that it starts to glow and grow with possibilities that you never even imagined? And how does it feel to channel starlight and inspiration and divinity inside of you and into everyone you come into contact with? That's the essence of the star card. And that is the essence of you inside the star card. So stopping for a moment and just either listening to my voice, or if your eyes are open, looking at the card, listen for an additional message from this card. It's going to help you make this thing happen. This thing that very likely has already happened. It's already right there. And then you kind of come back out of the card the same way that you moved it, right? Kind of slowly. And it's really important to recognize that working with tarot is a two-way street, like working with flowers, like working with God and goddess energy. So it's really important to practice manners, to thank the card. It's always fun to ask a card maybe what it is that they want from you. We spend a lot of time asking questions of the tarot, but tarot wants things of us, right? There's something on the other side of this card. It can be really fascinating to find out what it is that they want from us, but always thank a card when you're using it magically, or even when you're just getting good advice. And yeah, and when you have cast a spell, the best possible thing you can do is kind of forget about it. It's an aspect actually of the tarot, the Tower card, which is releasing all expectations. When you're working magically, things will always appear in ways that you don't expect. And so you never want to disregard your heart's desire when it shows up in your life, maybe in a different way than you expected, or in even a more phenomenal way that you expected. So yeah, so just kind of let it go and let the good feeling stay inside of you. And it's also important when you work magic, especially when you work solitary magic, to keep it to yourself. It's important in life to just keep a little of anything to yourself, right? Keep something sacred. We do so much giving to others, so much sharing, so much orating. But when you're working magic, especially for yourself, let that be between you and whatever you're working with, divinity, creativity, whatever it is. Let that be a sacred space for the two of you, and you'll be happy that you did. So so that's my thing. Oh my God, this was so weird because I can't see any of you. So I guess I'd love to open it up for questions or comments or anything that you guys are curious about.
Yeah, hey, getting in the way real quick. So we do have a question already. And I would like to encourage everybody that is here, please drop your questions in the Q&A so we can get them answered, y'all. I mean, why not, right?
Why not? No question is off limits. No question.
Right? Like, come on. So this first question is from Suzanne. And her question is, do you have any favorite exercises to learn to trust your intuition?
Yes, 100%, 100%, 100%. Also, and thank you for asking the question about intuition, because there's something really important for everybody to just know straight out the gate. There's two things that operate really strongly in our bodies that often get confused as intuition. So there's our intuition, and then there's our associative memory. And I want to just explain the difference. And I'll explain the difference too between psychic, intuition, and associative memory. So psychic is information that comes to you from outside of your body, right? It's really important to be in touch with your body, right? And know, and that's why grounding is always used in readings and in magic, because you want to have a foot in this world, because your body is constantly giving you information that you want to be able to interpret in the best way possible. So a psychic pop up often feels like a bubble going off in your head, and psychic information often doesn't make a lot of sense, which is all the more reason you should say it, write it down. It's often information that's not even meant for you, or it will make sense after the fact. So sometimes the more crazy it is, the more you need to really pay attention to it. It's a really good, important thing to do for psychic stuff. Your intuition is essentially, I don't have her handy right here, but she's the high priestess in the tarot card. Your intuition and the high priestess is the blueprint of who you are. It is your past, present, future. It is all things combined. So when you are focusing in on your intuition, you are in the place of your most authentic self, which is why when we're listening to our intuition, it leads us to the place that we want to be. What happens with our bodies is that there's also this associative memory at play. And associative memory is, like I earlier said, a stop sign, right? Like you don't have to think, you just stop, because you learned that stop signs mean stop. So anything that is a learned shortcut for your brain is often, it's felt so immediately that it can feel like an intuition, but it is not, because it's also the hotbed of racism and quick value judgments of other people. So it's very important for you, when you're really working with your intuition, is to pay attention. Is this truly information that is coming from my high priestess self? Or is this a value judgment or a preconceived notion or something that I've been conditioned to learn? Okay, how do you know the difference between those two things? It's tough. It can be subtle, but your first step is putting some space and starting to examine where that is coming from. So literally, your first step of working with your intuition, and a great trick, is to ask, where's this information coming from? And intuition, psychic, tarot reading, magic, the only way you're going to get better is doing it for yourself. And none of this is something anybody else can teach you, because we all have different experiences we're all souls, right? In this temporary physical body, we all experience the world differently, which is why, even though I write tarot books, I'm like, you can toss the tarot books out, because how you taste cilantro is different than how I taste cilantro or feel the sunrise or smell roses, right? We all are different, and the way you psychically communicate or physically communicate, spiritually communicate with the world, it's as unique as your kids, right? And so pay attention, write stuff down, journal. And like, journaling doesn't have to be this overwhelming process. Like I said, just write down quick keywords at the end of your day. Feel like if you have an intuition that pops up, like the best thing you can do is do a single tarot card every morning. That's the best thing to start actively working on your intuition. And then the next thing that's really important, and this also kind of brushes up against shadow work, is figure out what happens when you make an intuitive leap or an intuitive decision and it's wrong. You're going to learn a lot by figuring out what doesn't work for you. And rather than being like beating yourself up, because that's like an easy place for us all to go, figure out why it felt so right and why it wasn't right for you. And by discerning that for yourself, you're going to become the Indiana Jones of your own existence in life, and you'll be your own best witch and psychic. So thank you.
That was a great answer. Thank you. Especially, I think paying attention to the intuition when it's wrong is something that I know I don't always want to admit. So thank you for that. Now we do have a couple more questions. So Marshall, hey Marshall, do you have any separate advice for oracle cards? Because they are different for maybe those who aren't aware.
Yeah, so Oracle, so what made the difference between a tarot deck and an Oracle deck is that tarot has this very skeletal structure, which never changes. It's the major arcana, the minor arcana, the ace through the court cards. And this is the reason that tarot is like the gateway to the metaphysical world, because you can put astrology on top of it, Kabbalah on top of it, all these magical different properties on top or inside of tarot, and it just kind of aligns perfectly. The other gift of that is that it's also indicative of our lives and of the repetition of our lives. So tarot is going to call you out on all your stuff if you're pulling cards every day. Oracle cards have no necessarily system. So I know a lot of people who use Oracle cards as like a last word for a tarot reading, which is a really fun thing if you want to do a final word. Although my favorite final word from a tarot reading is just to look at the card that's on the bottom of the deck. But I don't work with Oracle cards very much, just because I find I just am a tarot junkie. So yeah, I would say, yeah, I would use them for a last word. And they often, I think, tend to be pretty gentle. So yeah, if you're doing a card a day and maybe don't want to see the Three of Swords come up because you're feeling great, maybe go for your Oracle deck, not your tarot deck that day, because the system of getting an answer and a message is still the same, regardless of which one you're using.
Thank you. Yeah, I love that. That's great. I'm just loving all of it. Now, Sasha, do you happen to have a hard copy of your book with you?
I don't.
No.
Oh my God! Wait,
them.
a hard copy of Magic of Tarot?
Yeah.
No, like, okay, so legit, the entire shipping world, international shipping, is like in such a quagmire right now. I literally am so worried that the books were not even going to be ready for the publication date. They shipped out today. So no, I don't have a hard copy of it. I have a copy of my complete book of the Rider-Waite-Smith.
Yeah.
Not the Magic of Tarot. I will say though, the Magic of Tarot, the cover art was done by Abigail Larson, who also was my artist for the Darkwood Tarot. And the two really act as nice companions for each other, because my Magic of Tarot goes deeply into deeper into the shadow work than I could go in the guidebook for Darkwood.
All right. So that was from Tracy. Sorry, Tracy, but we will have copies at Off Square Books. So we'll see you then, October 8th. And there's still loads of links to purchase Magic of Tarot in the chat, y'all. We do have another question. Oh, of course, just like my mother.
You and me both.
Yeah, right. It's like, oh, let me see. And so we have an attendee that now, Sasha, are you from the South?
Oh no, I should have said this when we started. No, I'm not from the South. I'm actually I'm in New York City right now, where I live.
Oh, shut up.
Yeah, so I'm in Manhattan. Literally, like the Empire State Building is 3 blocks behind me. I do, and then I'm also in the Catskills. We have a good haunted farmhouse up in the Catskills. But no, I'm not down. I'd love to come down.
You'll have to come visit. So we would love to have you. Maybe we can do something later. So I'm gonna ask this question, and we're gonna maybe do a little bit of scooching around. So Anonymous wanted to know if there are any tips in regards to becoming more practicing tarot and magic in more general terms. And there's the caveat of in the South. Well, could you speak to just in general, what helped you feel more comfortable?
Oh, more comfortable practicing magic. That's a great
open.
It's a great question, because especially when I started publishing and doing this in public, I was maybe 15 years ago. And even back then, it was a much different landscape in terms of like now in a lot of places, tarot is very mainstream, but that's not the case anywhere and everywhere. So here's something that I would say for you. Number one, if people hear that you do tarot or magic and it freaks them out, the last thing you want to do is try and convince them that it's a good thing. Let people have their freaking out. Like if tarot is not for them, then it's not for them. If they think it's evil, don't worry about yourself and not about what other people think. My very first deck that I bought when I was 12 years old, there was my stepsister's best friend who was a born again Christian, burned them the same day in our farm garbage can. She's like, that's the devil's work. So I'm like, ooh, this must be good. Like she freaked out, right? These must be powerful. And that's of course the basis of everybody's fear, right? It's powerful to stand in your magic. It's powerful to be the one coming into your own decisions. The minute that, the Hierophant card in tarot is like the Pope figure, the guru. Once there's someone who like speaks for divinity, it's taking away your power to say that you can't communicate with what was always yours to begin with. So nurture yourself, create safe spaces where you can read the cards for yourself or others or practice magic. I think the most powerful magic is done in nature. It's between you and a willow tree or you and a blade of grass. Everything's alive. Everything has energy. If you're not comfortable wearing it on your sleeve or talking about it, then don't. Treat yourself kindly and create a space. And that in and of itself changes the energy around you, because then you're going to start finding other people who are kind of like the same. And suddenly you'll be like, oh, I might have like a nice community or interesting people who do the same thing as me, but in different ways, because there's so many people do magical stuff and don't even call it magic. So I hope that answers your question.
I think that was wonderful. Sorry, my paper fell. Fine.
It's the energy.
I guess it's good. We're wrapping up.
The veil is breaking.
Yeah, it's like, okay, fine. The only thing that I would add, because I'm from the South and, I've lived here my whole life. I'm from Mississippi. There are so many people that practice. You will find them everywhere. They're just not going to use the same language as you sometimes, just like what you said, Sasha. People practice in different ways. And like, I know it sounds like I'm just saying it because I work at the bookstore. Go to the metaphysical section. There are always 2 to 3 of y'all just sort of scooching around looking at all the books. And you can all bond over the magic of tarot and all the other stuff. You'll find your people. You just got to actually step out and find them. Let me see if there's any more questions. I think we're good. Oh my God, this chat is so sweet. I don't know if you have opened it yet, Sasha, but you need to see all this love that you're getting. Well, do you have anything else to say before we kind of wrap up?
No, I don't. I just want to thank you guys for coming on tonight and just magic is real. It's not a passing fad. It's not just because it's cool and like you see like because the ladies with the like tattoos and black nail polish on Instagram, like it's not like I mean it is a fabulous fashion, but it's so profound and it's so important. And when you're working with tarot, I always say this, like you legit can ask. If there is something you want, ask for that every single day until you get the answer that you need. And I always say, ask like your life depends on it, because it does. This is the quality of your life. Magic and tarot is literally like being a connoisseur of tantric enjoyment. And there is so much there for you to explore. And it is mysterious. And it is not a mystery that is meant to be solved. It is a mystery to be played with and enjoyed and just discover what's there. So just be kind to yourselves, be kind to others. yeah, access your highest self when you're working with the cards, and your deepest, darkest self too. And just have fun and be the magic you are.
Oh, that was lovely. I think we're about done. I think Caitlin's gonna pop on and help me in this, but I just wanted to say to all of the people here, y'all rule. This was the first metaphysical event in Square Books' history. Thank you so much. Thank you, Sasha, for being our first metaphysical author. I know I'm biased, but I think that the metaphysical section has the best customers, so you can quote me on that. That's all I got. Thank you again, just to everyone. This was awesome.
Thanks.
Yeah, this was so great. Thank you, Sasha, for spending your evening with us. I don't think this will be our last metaphysical event. The community and just this like last hour has been so wonderful, and yeah, and thank you for kind of making it work. And when we surprised you that this was a webinar, you know, one thing I actually really love about virtual events that I didn't think that I would so much is it may not feel very intimate to you, but like just seeing your face like right big on my like screen, it does feel very like intimate and special, and it's something that's kind of harder to replicate in an in-person event. So I'm so grateful for this magical evening that you've given us. I don't know how anyone missed it, but I've put the link in there quite a few times to pre-order Sasha's book. And I think I'm a little bit putting you on the spot, Sasha, but if we send you some book plates, would you sign them for us so we can?
Definitely.
Okay, awesome. So y'all heard it here. Signed book plate editions of The Magic of Tarot. Comes out next Tuesday. And oh, what else? I had one more thing. I'm just thankful, grateful, and really looking forward to having this book in our hands. And I would like to remind folks that we can't have these sort of events in person, on Zoom or otherwise, without your support. So if you were waffling, I hope that guilt trip helped. And Sasha, congratulations. We are so proud to have your work on our shelves, and can't wait for this new one.
Thank you.
And thank you, Al, for taking the time to do this too. Looks like my some noise in the other room, but maybe we should wrap this up, and I hope to do this again soon. Maybe we can welcome you to Oxford when the world is a little more normal.
I would
Yeah.
love it.
Awesome. Yeah. Okay, I see folks starting to shuffle out, so I suppose we should too. We'll be thinking of you next Tuesday. Congrats again, and take care.
Good night.
All right, good night.
Bye.